Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'm going to be taking a look at the very best cards for GLC for the set Ascended Heroes. So as for some new updates, I'll be ranking each type and the new trainers. The ranking is of course a personal opinion, however, and the main point of the video is just really to showcase the best new cards for each type. And just worth noting, because this is a very big set, some cards have been left out of this video that I just didn't think were particularly strong. And on top of that, there is also a lot of reprints, which I've not included in this video. So first up, we've got dark types. Now, usually dark types do get some pretty good cards in these sets, but sadly this time round, it's looking a bit rough. I don't think Pecorant is particularly good, and Glaring Obstagoon's okay, I guess, but there's just better Glaring Obstagoons you can play in GLC right now. So I don't think these cards are particularly impressive, but again, if you're just starting out, I guess, in GLC and you're just looking to pick up some smaller cards for it, then you know what? Not the worst options in the world, but again, I wouldn't really go out of my way to pick these out, for a GLC deck. They're nothing too crazy. Moving on though, we have 11th place Dragon types. Now, Rayquaza I think is kind of interesting, can do 120 for 2 energy, which for a lightning and a colorless I don't think is particularly bad because you could use counter energy to pay for it, or you could use something like a Dragonite to power up the lightning and a water energy out of the deck, for example, so that's quite a nice option. Also got this N Zekrom, which can do a whopping 250 with Rampaging Thunder, although the attack cost is kind of expensive. And then Noivern, I think, is probably it's alright. I talked about this recently, actually, in the many Noiverns of GLC video. But, Enhanced Blade isn't the worst attack, 140. If it has a tool, then maybe you could include, a tool like Muscle Band. So you get to do a bit of extra damage, and then, Agility can be okay, I guess. But nothing really stellar and stand out here, but, some solid options overall, I would say. Next up is we have Lightning types, which I do think are slightly better than Dragon types this set. Not by much, though. Dragon types, argument's sake, could be 10th or 9th place. But, Tapu Koko's got a very nice first attack if you're just getting started in GLC. Stunfisk, I don't think is that bad, actually. I could see some very annoying situations where Stunfisk is just okay, you can't retreat, and I now get to, one-shot your Wailord or something with a jumping trap. So, well, not one-shot it, but, two-shot it, So I don't think it's that bad. Also got this Heliolisk with, Heliolisk, is that how you say it? Heliolisk with a not fried lightning, although that would make more sense, I think. Frilled lightning, which I guess makes sense for the weird sun pattern on its, what is that? It's its face, I guess. It's weird ears or something that it pops out. But yeah, it's an unusual looking Pokemon, Heliolisk. I do like him though. But yeah, this one relies on you playing a Canary from your hand, which is okay, that's not the worst thing to do in the world, but mainly it's here for Powerful Bolt. And I do think there's probably better Powerful Bolt attackers in GLC. But if you're running Canary, you like Heliolisk, you need a Powerful Bolt attack anyway in your deck. Honestly, not the worst option in the world. Pretty good card, I would say. So, that's nice to see at least. We've finally got a good Helios card at the very least. So, good news, everyone. But in 9th place, we have colorless types, and this is all themed around Larry. So if you really like Larry, then, here's your chance. Larry's Kamala, of course, being the best card here. Once your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may attach an energy card from your hand to your active Larry's Pokemon. So you could use it on a Larry Staraptor, for example, to charge up for Feathery Strike, which does 150, but you do have to discard 2 energy, so there is a bit of synergy in recharging energy. And it also does 50 damage as well to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Quite nice. And then Larry's Bravery also does 50 damage, and the defending Pokemon can't retreat, so you can do some bit of retreat locking. It's a nice, fun little package, and colorless is very easy to build around because it's just all colorless energy. So it's very easy to, just splash in whatever you want, basically. So Hops Cramorant, for example, you could do a Hops and Larry team deck, I guess, if you really fancied it. That could be quite fun, actually. I wouldn't mind trying that. But yeah, it's not the most competitive GLC stuff out there, of course, but it's a bit of fun at the end of the day, and I think that's quite important when talking about GLC. But yeah, some fun cards, I would say. Next up is we've got Psychic types. Some really fun options here. I think, honestly, the best card here might be the Mischievous with Ascension, because it does mean now that the really good Miss Magius from, I think it was, I want to say Silver Tempest? It was Silver Tempest or Lost Origin. It was the one that spreads damage counters on across all of your opponent's Pokemon, and then when it gets one KO'd, you get to put 8 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's a very a very annoying card. And Mischievous with Ascension just means it's a bit more consistent, I would say. So that's nice. So you do get a nice little buff to that. Rocket's Executor is quite funny. It's not great, but like flip 3 coins and for each heads, knock out one of your opponent's Pokemon. Like if you're building a Psychic Team Rockets deck, which I'm not sure if there's enough pieces to even play that in GLC, but like if you wanted to, then like Trikinesis is a very funny attack. Could, one shot anything. Spectra is a pretty good card actually. Discard all energy from this Pokemon and place 12 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So quite a nice sniping move. And then Mismagius just interacts with special conditions, which is okay. Like, I don't think Psychic's actually the worst type to be inflicting special conditions. I'm aware that there's like a Slowbro that interacts with them. So if you have a way of like, inflicting a special condition on your opponent's active Pokemon, like through a Koga's Trap or something, then Mismagius won't be the worst at sniping, which is kind of cool. Next up, those we have metal types. Now, sadly, only one card features in this one, but I do think it's a very good card. This Kingambit has the ability Supreme Overlord. Says attacks used by his Pokemon deal 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon for each prize card your opponent has taken. So it's basically just a mini Charizard. It's a mini Charizard with a slightly worse attack because you do 50 damage to yourself, which sucks. Now, not pictured here, but you could use a protection cube from this, I want to say like Flashfire or something. It's been a while since I've seen that card. But yeah, protection cube basically says you don't take damage from your own attacks. So quite a nice tool card because it just means you can do 180 every time, plus 30 more for every prize card your opponent's taken, which is really quite scary. So yeah, quite like this. You've got like Matang as well to power up energy. Like energy is not a problem here, really. It's just like, do you want Kingambit in your deck as a late game attacker? Because honestly, it seems pretty solid. If you really like Kingambit, then, quite a nice option to have, I would say. Next up is we have fighting types. Some fun little small options here. I'd say Medicham's like probably the more interesting one. 7th Kick does 150. And if you don't have exactly 7 cards in your hand, this attack does nothing. Now, funnily enough, there is a Barbaracle from, I want to say, the black and white era of the game. Don't quote me on that. Which does have a very... Wait, no, it's not. It's not black and white. It's like Sun and Moon. Yeah, there's a Barbaracle from the Sun and Moon era that has like a similar condition if your opponent has exactly 7 cards in your hand. Or if you have 7 cards in your hand. Don't quote me on that. I should just start putting these cards like in the video just to make this so much easier. But yeah, Medicham with Barbaracle could be quite fun. Anyway, moving on. We've got Rocket Dugtrio, which has the ability Sinkhole, which I don't think is particularly great, but I think you could do some like interesting retreat lock shenanigans with it and like force your opponent to take damage counters. Could be quite fun. Okie Dokie, I don't think will ever replace the really good one that we have right now, but if that one gets like banned in GLC for whatever reason, then Settle the Score is not like the worst attack in the world. Just to consider for the future, especially if we get like better energy acceleration fighting types, which is something which is worth considering. Like we are getting the Barbaracle in perfect order, which will help these out so much. But yeah, this Okie Dokie with Settle the Score, like it's not as good as the other Okie Dokie, but you can kind of like pretend that you're playing an Okie Dokie that's good, I guess. But maybe don't do that if you're playing competitive GLC. But a fun option at the end of the day. In 5th place, though, we have some new fun Pokemon. Beautyfly, Dustox, and Silcoon. I've opted to neglect out the Erica stuff because I just don't think it's very good. But like the Erica stuff it's okay. Like if you really want to build like very, very casual GLC, then Erica's is okay. But like I just thought these were just a bit more interesting. Dustox has a quite fun ability. Once in your turn, you may flip a coin. If heads, return energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon to their hand. So if you want to play like a weird energy disruption grass deck, it's an option. Beautyfly is kind of fun. If your opponent has an energy in hand, you do 80 damage for each one you find there, which is kind of cool. Not a super competitive attack. Like it's very reliant on your opponent having like just a ton of energy, and it just reminds me of Butterfree. Like it has these weird whimsical attacks and also has 130 HP. It's very similar Pokemon wise, but yeah, like I don't think it's the best thing in the world, but it's some interesting cards for sure. And I do quite like Silcoon. I am starting to wonder why I put grass types in 5th place, to be fair. I wonder if I meant to include the Erica's stuff a while ago and then decided not to, but, like, hopefully we get some more support. Some more grass stuff would be nice. But yeah, we do have fire types in 4th place. Got some cool options here. We've got a new Mel with Incandescent Body, which can just inflict a burn whenever it's attacked. So a nice little buff to fire types that want to play Camerupt. And this Camerupt's honestly not the worst. 1 fire energy does 110. Also, I don't know why this Camerupt looks like it's been just taken out of Minecraft. It looks very, very blocky for some reason. But yeah, Burn and Grill, if your opponent's active Pokemon isn't Burn, this attack does nothing. But 110 is still pretty nice, and it's quite easy to inflict Burn with the Volcarona from the Black Bolt and White Flare sets. We've also got this Entei, which does Flare Fall for 2 Pharangi. You do 30 damage, and if you have at least 4 Pharangi in play, you do 90 more. So quite an easy, straightforward attack to use. Again, if you're just getting started in GLC, I think these would be some quite easy options to slot into your deck, especially the Entei, but there is, of course, better Enteis in GLC to consider. But yeah, in third place, we have Water types. Ends Vanillix is here just because I quite like Vanillix. I'm a bit biased. But yeah, Layered Snow is quite fun though. Place damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon until their damage is doubled. And there is a lot of water Pokemon that just do spread damage. Like, there just is. Like, Dugong's a good one. Greninja, technically, with the damage counters. Like, there's some fun ones, but Layered Snow, I do think is quite a solid attack. Ends Vanillish with Sheer Cold. Defending Pokemon can't attack next turn, just quite funny. Like, there is a stadium, actually, I believe, from the XY year of the game that would let you copy your previous attacks. So, like, you could sit there with Vanillix and then use Sheer Cold repeatedly, which is quite funny. But, just there as a fun little option if you want it. Frostmoth, I don't think is very good, sadly, just because there's just better Frostmoth in GLC. Like, there's the one that accelerates energy. I mean, you probably just want to play that. But if you are playing, like, other energy acceleration and you want to use this Frostmoth, then it's not the worst. It lets you, just draw a card, forces your opponent to draw a card, which is mostly not a very good thing. But like in the late game, if your opponent's trying not to deck out or something, then maybe it could be okay. Like if you're doing some weird stall thing where you just want your opponent to draw more cards, then sure, I guess. But then Cold Cyclone's like a pretty solid attack. Like if you can lead with Frostmoth in the earlier turns, then it can be good. But not the best thing in the world either, really. Glastier, I think, is okay with Ice Shot, but again, nothing too crazy. But still, some fun options overall, I would say. In second place, we've got some new items and tools. Thick Scales is quite entertaining. The Dragon Pokemon this card is attached to takes 50 less damage from Grass, Fire, Water, and Lightning, so pretty self-explanatory, just a bit of buff on the HP side of things. And then Team Rocket's Hypnotizer. If a Team Rocket's Pokemon this card is attached to is damaged from an attack and is in the active spot, then your attacking Pokemon is now asleep. So this is quite fun with Executor because it does mean that it gives you more chances, hopefully, to, flip 3 heads and, you force your opponent's active to fall asleep. But, it's a bit of a silly card. Like, I don't think it's the best thing in the world, but if you're already building a Team Rockets deck, you may as well play it, right? It's one of those things where you may as well run it. But yeah, as for some new supporters, Canary's decent. It's basically just better Lana, I guess. Like, that's, well, not Lana, sorry. I'm getting this confused with a supporter that was recently revealed for fighting types. It's a different supporter. Canary's like decent as just like a searcher deck for a bunch of lightning Pokemon. It's not like the worst supporter in the world. I would say this is worth running though. Seems decent. Waitress is also fine. It's quite funny because it's basically just max elixir, but like it's still some energy acceleration if you were to need it, basically. But yeah, thanks for watching. Some overall thoughts. It's an okay set for GLC overall. Trainers are pretty lackluster, to be honest, this time around. It is a good set for beginners, especially with all those reprints, which is nice. But still, it is a special set, so probably going to be hard to obtain singles, I'm going to say, unless you know a lot of people who open a lot of booster boxes and stuff, then yeah, it's going to be hard to obtain like the new stuff, I would say. But yeah, reprints like Dynamotor will help at least. So that is something worth mentioning. There is some really solid reprints in the set for GLC, which kind of takes this review up a bit. It's like there is actually good stuff in this set. It's not just all bulk, but yeah, quite fun at the very least. And also got some new lovely artwork, like this new version of Boss's Orders for Corbu. But yeah, let me know what you think about this all down below. And yeah, thank you for watching.